For years, people dismissed it as a myth, a tiny mammal that could kill a king cobra. It sounded impossible until the cameras caught it. With high-speed footage and scientific analysis, we now understand what's really going on. These aren't lucky escapes. They're calculated wins. And once you see how it unfolds, it's clear. This is biology, strategy, and pure evolutionary warfare. To understand why this matters, you need to grasp the mismatch at the heart of this battle. On one side, the king cobra, a snake that can grow up to 19 feet long, rise upright, and deliver enough venom to kill an elephant. It rules its ecosystem with fear, size, and neurotoxic precision. On the other side, the mongoose, barely a foot tall, maybe 4 pounds. It looks more like a squirrel than a snake killer. And yet, this little predator doesn't just survive cobra encounters, it goes looking for them. That's what this documentary is about, pulling back the curtain on the science, the strategy, and the evolutionary arms race between two of nature's most iconic rivals. The isn't just proof that mongooses can kill king cobras. It's the key to unlocking how they do it. Because when you slow it down, zoom in, and understand the biology behind it, it becomes a lesson in intelligence, adaptation, and the wild dynamics of predator and prey. This isn't just a story of survival. It's a battle of brains, biology, and pure evolutionary grit. The king cobra doesn't earn its name lightly. It's not just the world's longest venomous snake. It's also one of the most feared reptiles on the planet. Stretching up to 19 feet in length, it can raise a third of its body off the ground and lock eyes with an adult human. That upright stance isn't a party trick. It's a warning, a signal. This snake means business. Its most iconic feature is the hood, a stretch of skin behind the head that flares out when the snake feels threatened. The display, combined with its deep hiss and towering posture, is usually enough to scare off most animals. But beneath the drama is a cold, calculated killer. The king cobra doesn't just scare, it strikes. The real danger lies in its venom. While it isn't the most potent toxin out there by sheer chemical strength, the quantity makes all the difference. A single bite can inject up to 1,000 milligrams of neurotoxin. That's enough to kill an elephant or 20 fully grown humans. The venom attacks the victim's nervous system, causing paralysis, respiratory failure, and eventually death. King cobras are solitary hunters, relying on stealth and precision. Unlike other snakes that go after rodents or birds, these reptiles eat other snakes, including their own kind. They hunt with focus, often tracking prey for hours before striking with absolute accuracy. Their fangs, though short compared to vipers, are perfectly adapted for their needs. Hollow and sharp, they deliver venom deeply and efficiently. Once the bite lands, the cobra backs off, letting the venom do the work. The prey doesn't stand a chance. But it's not just the venom or the size that makes the king cobra a top predator. It's also the way it holds its ground. When cornered, it doesn't slither away. It postures, it hisses, it rises, and if needed, it attacks with blinding speed. If the king cobra is nature's hitman, the mongoose is the wiry street fighter that just won't back down. At first glance, a mongoose might not seem like much of a threat. It's small, sleek, and usually weighs just a few pounds. But don't be fooled. This is a battle-hardened predator built for survival. There are over 30 species of mongoose spread across Africa, Southern Europe, and Asia. Some are solitary, some live in colonies, and while they vary in color and size, they all share a similar silhouette: long body, short legs, alert eyes, and a tail almost as long as their torso. The most famous of them, the Indian gray mongoose, has become almost legendary for its snake-fighting skills. What sets the mongoose apart isn't just its size or shape. It's the attitude. This animal doesn't flinch. It doesn't run unless it chooses to. And when it locks eyes with a snake, it often moves in for the kill. Their movement is sharp and calculated. They dart in and out like boxers, keeping their opponents guessing. But their speed is only half the story. Mongooses are surprisingly intelligent. In colonies, they even pass knowledge to the young: how to stalk, how to hunt, how to recognize danger. That kind of learned behavior is rare in small mammals, but it gives the mongoose a critical edge. Mongooses have sharp, curved teeth and powerful jaw muscles. They don't just bite to scare, they bite to break bones. Their hunting style relies on precision. They go for the skull, the neck, the spine, always targeting areas that end the fight quickly. In the wild, mongooses are opportunists. They'll eat snakes, birds, insects, small mammals, whatever they can catch. But when it comes to venomous snakes, they become something else entirely. A confident, evolved strategy wrapped in a deceptively cute package. When the mongoose meets the king cobra, it doesn't charge in recklessly. What looks like a chaotic brawl is actually a well-rehearsed strategy, refined through generations of trial and error. This is not brute force versus venom. It's endurance, mind games, and microseconds of precision. The showdown usually starts with posturing. The cobra rears up, flares its hood, and hisses. It's trying to scare the opponent away before things get physical. The mongoose, meanwhile, plays coy. It darts in, then jumps back. To an untrained eye, it might look scared. But that hesitation? It's bait. This is the first phase, the wear down. The mongoose knows it can't match the cobra's raw power in a head-on attack. So it provokes the snake into striking first, again and again. Each dodge costs the cobra energy. Each miss adds frustration. The mongoose doesn't retaliate yet. It's waiting for the snake to make a mistake. Over the next few minutes, or sometimes nearly an hour, the dance continues. Every move the mongoose makes is calculated. It never turns its back. Its reflexes are dialed in, reacting within milliseconds to each strike. The snake begins to slow down. Its strikes become less accurate. Its body starts to sag. That's when phase 2 kicks in. Disruption. The mongoose moves in closer. It lands small bites, triggering the snake to react. Each reaction costs more energy. This loop continues until the cobra is almost too tired to lift its head. And then, with no warning, the mongoose delivers the final blow. It lunges with lightning speed, targeting one spot: the head. Not the neck, not the body. The skull. One bite. That's all it takes. The cobra's bones crack. If it doesn't die instantly, the mongoose shakes it violently against the ground until it does. This moment looks brutal, but it's surgical. The mongoose knows the risks. One wrong move, and it could take a venomous bite to the face. In this ring, victory doesn't come from being the strongest. It comes from being the smartest, the fastest, and the most patient. And the mongoose? It's all three. For decades, stories of mongooses killing cobras were treated like folklore, told with wide eyes and skeptical grins. Sure, there were written accounts, a few blurry photographs, and secondhand tales from the field. But real evidence? Something clear, repeatable, and undeniable? That didn't come until the cameras started rolling. The turning point was simple. Technology caught up to the legend. Tourists with smartphones, safari guides, and researchers with field cams began capturing scenes that left viewers stunned. One of the most compelling clips came from South Africa's Kruger National Park. A mongoose darted through the underbrush, leaping at a black mamba that had taken shelter in a bush. The fight didn't happen on open ground. It moved vertically, through branches, leaves, and shifting shadows. 30 minutes later, the black mamba lay limp, and the mongoose simply walked away. What shocked people wasn't just the victory, it was the method. The mongoose didn't overpower the snake, it outmaneuvered it. And that changed the narrative completely. Scientists who had studied mongooses for years suddenly had visual confirmation of behaviors they'd only described in text. And perhaps, most important of all, it reminded us of something powerful: that nature is full of surprises, waiting to be seen. The mongoose versus cobra fight wasn't a myth, it was a masterclass, and now the world had a front row seat. Mongoose skills aren't just instinct, they're passed down, sharpened, and refined. In many species, especially the banded mongoose, killing snakes isn't just a wild gamble, it's a learned art. These little predators don't just grow into fighters, they're trained. It starts early. In the safety of the colony, young mongooses are introduced to danger in stages. First, they're shown dead snakes, harmless, unmoving, but familiar. The adults let the pups sniff, paw, and interact. This first contact is about recognition. Know your enemy. Learn its scent, its shape, its feel. Next comes stage 2. Weakened snakes. Injured or sick ones that move but can't fight back. Under the watchful eyes of their parents, the pups are allowed to get closer. They mimic attacks, test reflexes, and build confidence. It's supervised play, but with deadly implications for the future. The colony ensures the young aren't scared of snakes. They're comfortable around them, comfortable enough to kill. The final phase is live combat. But even then, the young aren't thrown in unprotected. Adults take the lead. They surround the snake, attack in formation, and the young ones follow. Not blindly, though. They observe. They study the rhythm. They watch how the adults bait, dodge, and strike. And eventually, when they're ready, they step in. Mongooses are one of the few non-primate mammals known to use cooperative teaching. They even assign older individuals, caregivers, to monitor the pups. If one of the little ones gets too close, the adult pulls it back. It's not just parenting, it's mentorship. Over time, this results in a skill set most predators never develop. A young mongoose doesn't just learn how to hunt snakes. It learns how to calculate timing, measure risk, and execute a plan. That level of behavioral complexity is rare, and it's what allows mongooses to engage cobras and survive. What's more impressive is that this learning process isn't locked to genetics. It's cultural. A mongoose born into a colony of experienced snake hunters will learn those techniques. It's a form of knowledge inheritance, one generation passing down survival skills to the next. This is why mongoose colonies are so formidable. It's not nature versus nurture. In the mongoose world, it's both, and together, they create something deadly. In the African savanna, alliances sometimes form in surprising places. One of the more fascinating and still debated relationships involves mongooses and their unlikely neighbors, Cape ground squirrels. These burrowing rodents and their mongoose guests may not be friends in the traditional sense, but the arrangement is clearly useful for both. Cape ground squirrels build complex underground burrows with multiple tunnels and escape routes. They're social, active, and always on alert. But they're not built to take on predators like venomous snakes. That's where the mongoose comes in. Certain species, like the yellow mongoose, are often found using these burrows for shelter. The squirrels tolerate the intrusion, and some researchers believe they benefit in return. The idea is simple. When a snake approaches, the squirrels sound an alarm. The mongoose hears it, pops its head out of the shared burrow, and immediately springs into action. It's not doing it for the squirrel, it's doing it because snakes are prey. But the squirrel gets a critical bonus, protection from a threat it can't handle alone. This behavior has been observed and even filmed. In one documented case, a puff adder approached a shared burrow. As the squirrels scattered and raised the alarm, the mongoose emerged, assessed the threat, and neutralized it. Just instinct and opportunity, working in favor of both parties. Still, scientists are split on whether this counts as true mutualism. Some studies show ground squirrels are more relaxed when meerkats are around, but not necessarily when yellow mongooses are. Others suggest the mongooses may simply be freeloading, using the burrows for shelter and heat regulation without directly aiding the squirrels. But even if the relationship isn't fully cooperative, it's effective. The presence of a snake-hunting predator near vulnerable prey species shifts the local balance. When people hear that mongooses survive cobra bites, the assumption is often that they're immune, like they have a magic shield against venom. Let's break it down. The core of their venom resistance lies in their acetylcholine receptors, those tiny binding sites in the nervous system that snake venom usually targets. In most animals, venom molecules latch onto these receptors and shut the system down, leading to paralysis and death. But in mongooses, those same receptors are slightly mutated. The structure is just different enough to prevent the venom from attaching properly. It's a small genetic change, but it has massive consequences. That one tweak allows mongooses to take a bite from a cobra and keep fighting. If a mongoose gets bitten multiple times or receives a particularly large dose, it can still suffer the effects: paralysis, tissue damage, even death. There's also variation between species and even between individuals. Some mongooses have more effective receptor mutations. Others produce higher concentrations of venom-neutralizing glycoproteins in their blood. These proteins act like sponges, binding to venom molecules and rendering them harmless. But again, this varies. One mongoose might shake off a bite like nothing happened. Another might need time to recover, or might not recover at all. Because of this, mongooses never rely on their resistance alone. Their primary defense is always strategy: dodging, tiring the snake, and striking precisely. They fight smart because they have to. Resistance gives them a second chance, not a guarantee. It's one thing to survive a venomous snake. It's another to actively hunt it. So why would a mongoose, a small predator with other food options, deliberately pick a fight with something as dangerous as a king cobra? The answer lies in two powerful drivers of animal behavior: hunger and protection. First and foremost, mongooses are hunters, fierce ones. They're not specialized snake killers, they're generalists. Their diet includes insects, rodents, birds, eggs, lizards, and yes, snakes. For many mongoose species, snakes aren't a last resort. They're a normal part of the menu. Venomous snakes, despite the risk, are calorie-dense meals. For a hungry mongoose, a snake offers protein, fat, and a chance to fuel up for days. And unlike other prey, snakes don't run far. They fight, sure, but they don't flee like a rabbit or fly away like a bird. If a mongoose can outmaneuver the fangs, it gets a hefty reward. But there's a second reason mongooses confront snakes: defense. These mammals don't just live alone. Many species live in social groups, and those groups often include young pups exploring their surroundings. A cobra slithering into the territory isn't just a threat to food, it's a threat to the entire colony. In these cases, the fight isn't about dinner, it's about eliminating danger. There are documented cases of mongooses taking down snakes and leaving the bodies uneaten. This becomes especially clear with banded mongooses. They live in tight-knit colonies and are known to swarm predators. If a snake targets even one member, the rest often respond in unison, overwhelming the threat through sheer numbers. While the mongoose versus cobra matchup gets most of the attention, it's far from the only battle this scrappy mammal takes on. Mongooses are known to fight and beat a range of dangerous creatures, from venomous scorpions to large pythons. Each opponent demands a different approach, and the mongoose adapts like a seasoned warrior, switching tactics mid-battle. Take scorpions, for example. Some species, like the Indian gray mongoose, routinely hunt them. The process is quick and brutal. The mongoose grabs the scorpion by a non-lethal leg, tosses it repeatedly into the air to disorient it, then delivers a bite that ends the fight. They don't always bother removing the stinger. They just go straight in and eat it whole. That might sound reckless, but their resistance to scorpion venom mirrors their tolerance for snake bites, chemical armor paired with fast reflexes. Then there are lizards. In one documented case, a mongoose took on a large monitor lizard in the middle of a road. The two locked in a tug-of-war, neither backing down. The mongoose tried multiple strategies: biting, dragging, pulling. When brute force didn't work, it changed tactics and went for the lizard's eyes. One successful gouge later, the lizard was disoriented and lost the upper hand. game over, and it gets wilder. In Kruger National Park, a tourist filmed a mongoose going after a black mamba hanging from a tree. Yes, a tree. Most people think mongooses are ground fighters, but this one climbed right into the branches, bit the snake mid-air, then dropped back to the ground before the mamba could counter. The message was clear. The mongoose's strategy works anywhere. But perhaps the most dramatic footage comes from group hunts, specifically against pythons. Banded mongooses, known for living in colonies, have been seen swarming massive constrictors. One mongoose might not take on a python alone, but 15 of them? That's a different story. They attack from all angles, bark in unison, and don't stop until the snake is either fleeing or dead. These battles tell us something important. The mongoose isn't a one-trick predator. It reads the opponent, assesses the risk, and adjusts its strategy. The mongoose may win most of its battles, but not all of them. For every viral video showing a mongoose triumphantly walking away from a fallen snake, there are quieter moments where the outcome goes the other way. When the cobra lands its strike, when the timing is off, or when the risk doesn't pay off, the mongoose loses. Sometimes it's a matter of bad luck, a misplaced paw, a slip in the grass, or a strike the mongoose didn't see coming. Cobra venom acts fast. It targets the nervous system, causing paralysis, and if the dose is high enough, death follows within minutes. Even with its resistance, the mongoose can only take so much. A bite to the face or chest, close to vital organs, can bypass its defenses and end the fight before it truly begins. Other times, it's about overconfidence. Young or inexperienced mongooses occasionally misjudge their target. A cobra might be faster, stronger, or more aggressive than expected. Some mongooses get in too close too soon, thinking they can land the finishing bite, only to catch a fang instead. And once that venom hits, the clock starts ticking. There are also unseen dangers after the battle. Even a successful hunt can turn fatal. If the mongoose consumes the snake and the fangs puncture its stomach lining during digestion, internal bleeding can occur. It doesn't happen often, but it happens. The danger doesn't end with the kill. It lingers. Then there's fatigue. Prolonged fights wear both animals down. If the mongoose pushes too hard, especially in the heat, it risks exhaustion. A tired mongoose is a vulnerable one. Its reflexes slow, its vision blurs. One missed dodge can change the outcome in an instant. And while mongooses have strong instincts, they aren't flawless. They miscalculate. These losses are rarely captured on camera. They're not viral moments, but they're real. And they serve as a reminder. This isn't a superhero story. It's nature, unpredictable and unforgiving. Mongooses aren't invincible. They're just remarkably good at stacking the odds in their favor. But when they lose, even once, it can be fatal. That's the reality behind the highlight reel, and it's what makes every win that much more impressive. They may fight like a team, but life inside a mongoose colony isn't all harmony and heroics. Beneath the tight social bonds and cooperative hunts lies a world of tension, competition, and sometimes brutal infighting. Mongoose society is structured, but it's not peaceful. Take the banded mongoose, for example. These animals live in colonies of around 20 members, sometimes more. They share food, raise each other's young, and defend against predators. But that cooperation comes with a darker edge. Researchers have found that mongoose groups are among the most conflict-prone in the animal kingdom. Disputes over dominance happen often, especially among males. Clashes for breeding rights can turn violent, with individuals driven out of the group or attacked by rivals. Males born into the colony are usually protected because they're needed for future defense and reproduction. Infanticide isn't rare either. When tensions run high or food is scarce, adult mongooses sometimes kill the pups of rival females. In extreme cases, cannibalism has been documented. These acts aren't random. They're part of the colony's brutal system of population control and dominance maintenance. And when it comes to territorial defense, things escalate fast. Banded mongoose groups regularly engage in organized warfare against neighboring colonies. These aren't just scuffles, they're full-on brawls. Two colonies will line up, facing off like opposing armies. Then, with a flurry of snarls and screeches, they clash in a chaotic tangle of fur and teeth. The outcome usually depends on numbers. If one side has more males, they typically win. These battles can happen multiple times a month, with injuries on both sides and casualties not uncommon. It's not just about land. It's about status, resources, and long-term survival. But here's the paradox. The more conflict a colony faces, whether internal or external, the more protective its adults become. When threats are constant, mongooses grow more vigilant. They guard the young more closely, respond faster to danger, and reinforce social bonds more tightly. So while the violence is real and sometimes shocking, it also forges stronger, smarter survivors. Young mongooses raised in high-conflict groups learn faster, mature earlier, and become more effective hunters and fighters. This internal war machine may seem contradictory for such a cooperative species. But in the mongoose world, aggression isn't the opposite of community. It's part of how that community functions. They're forged in fire, even when that fire comes from within. Long before high-speed cameras and wildlife documentaries, the mongoose were already legends. Rudyard Kipling's Rikki-Tikki-Tavi introduced the world to a fearless mongoose who defends his human family from deadly cobras. That story wasn't just popular, it stuck. It became the lens through which many people learned about these animals. But behind the fiction was always a question. Could that really happen? Now, with science and footage to back it up, the answer is clear. Yes, and even more impressively than Kipling imagined. But what makes this story so compelling isn't just the violence or the surprise twist of the underdog winning. It's what the mongoose versus cobra fight represents. A clash of extremes. Venom versus agility. Fear versus calculation. Survival versus death. Nature distilled into one fight. And yet, this is more than entertainment. These encounters give us a rare window into evolutionary arms races, the way species develop weapons and defenses over time, locked in battles that shape their biology. Every fight is the latest chapter in story millions of years in the making. Understanding mongooses also has real-world scientific implications. Their resistance to neurotoxins has sparked interest in medical research. Could their mutated receptors inspire new treatments for snakebites? Could their blood proteins be synthesized to help save human lives? It's still early, but the questions matter. Then there's the conservation angle. Mongooses face threats too, poaching for fur, habitat loss, and illegal trade. In India, their hair is used to make high-end paintbrushes, leading to the death of tens of thousands every year. They're resilient, yes, but they're not invincible. Like many animals, their survival now hinges not just on their strength, but on ours, our willingness to protect them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this wild showdown, hit like, share, subscribe, and tap the bell for more real animal battles and nature's untold stories. See you in the next video.